homage to Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to Manjushri, homage to all the lineage masters. The supreme, profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate beings, please generate bodhicitta before teaching. Now, we will continue our teaching on the Bodhicharyavatara. Now we are discussing vowing to become a cause for benefiting others. This topic is divided into two parts, general vow and specific vow. First, the general vow. The verse says, "May thinking of me never be meaningless for any." This means that because we have given up our own body and offered it to all sentient beings, by relying on my body, speech, and mind, may sentient beings receive the greatest benefit. So, in our daily lives, we should think in this way. When I generate bodhicitta, I have already offered all of my body, speech, and mind to sentient beings. From this point on, any sentient being, whether in the future, past, or present, from any place or of any kind, as long as they see me, hear my voice, or come into contact with my body, even if they simply think of me in their minds, whether they feel desire or faith toward me, or even if they feel jealousy toward me. Any and all sentient beings who take me as their object, who think of me in their minds, may they always receive the greatest benefit in this life and all future lives until they attain Buddhahood. You can easily find this kind of vow in the aspiration prayers of great masters who have truly aroused bodhicitta. For example, when His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche went to Mount Wutai in 1987, it was around the 4th day of the 6th lunar month, which is the day Buddha Shakyamuni turned the Dharma wheel. At that time, he also made such an aspiration. The content of his aspiration was, "From now on, throughout all lifetimes, I will not be partial to any sentient being. Whether they have faith in me or feel hatred toward me, may they all receive benefit and be reborn in the Western Pure Land." So each of us should also make such aspirations as His Holiness. In our daily lives, each person has their own motivation or perhaps a certain goal in their hearts. So what is our goal? Before we generate bodhicitta, perhaps our mindset was often just for ourselves or maybe for our family and friends. But after we give rise to bodhicitta, everything we do, every action of body, speech, and mind should be for the benefit of sentient beings. We should always keep in mind, whoever takes me as their object, whether they show respect, make offerings, or even prostrate to me, all of these become causes for their enlightenment. And if someone treats me with disrespect, I also vow that even these actions become the cause of enlightenment for them. May all of these actions, whatever they are, become the cause of enlightenment for those sentient beings. So here we should always keep making such a vow. If we truly have such aspirations in our hearts, then whenever we go out or even just walk down the street or wherever we may be, some sentient beings may see us, some may hear our voice, some sentient beings may feel joy toward us, some may feel aversion. But no matter what, we should aspire that all sentient beings who take us as their object may be free from suffering and attain happiness, and ultimately attain perfect, complete enlightenment. This is the goal of our vow. Everyone must put this into practice in daily life. It is very important to act on it. Of course, now as we are sitting in the shrine hall, we may all think this way. But when you go out or when you interact with sentient beings, please still think, no matter what I do, may it always be of benefit to sentient beings. Now, the specific vow is divided into 2 points. The meaningfulness of the vow in terms of thought and the meaningfulness of the vow in terms of action. I have already covered most of this in the general vow. The second point, in terms of action, it means whatever actions others take toward me, may they all receive benefit. The first point means no matter what kind of thoughts others have toward me, may these all become the cause for those sentient beings to receive benefit. Now, the verse says, when someone thinks of me and has a thought of anger or faith, may that be the cause of what fulfills their every benefit. This means that for all sentient beings who are connected to me, whether they give rise to anger toward me, or whether they give rise to a pure mind toward me, whoever thinks of me in their minds, may they always receive benefit or fulfill every benefit. What kind of benefit, both temporary temporary and ultimate benefit. Temporarily, may they not fall into lower realms, gain a human body, and enjoy the happiness of human and celestial realms. Ultimately, may they attain liberation from samsara. This is how we should think. In this world, there are truly many eminent monks, great masters, and bodhisattvas who possess bodhicitta. For these bodhisattvas and great masters, just seeing, hearing, remembering, or coming into contact with them brings benefit. So when we meet such eminent masters, if they are truly emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, then just seeing them, hearing their voice, or coming into contact with them can bring us tremendous benefit, even if it is not with a pure mind, even if it is with anger, even we see them with hatred, can still bring us benefit. There are stories about this. In the Heap of Jewels Sutra, there is a bodhisattva named Nandana. Bodhisattva Nandana was someone who brought joy to all who saw him. Later, when he went to the city of Shravasti to beg for alms, there was a merchant captain's daughter named Shridevi. When Shridevi saw him, she developed a very strong attachment to him. Because her attachment was so intense, she eventually died from it. After her death, she was reborn in the heaven of the 33. Later, through her divine powers, she was able to recall her previous experiences. She realized that it was through attachment, one of the 3 poisons, that she was reborn in the celestial realm. After knowing this, she found it very strange. How could it be that through attachment one could be reborn in the celestial realm? Later, she realized it was because the object was so extraordinary. Nandana was a remarkable bodhisattva. So, she brought 500 celestial beings with her to the human world and made offerings of flowers to Nandana. This story should be found in the Heap of Jewels Sutra. I believe it is also cited in other texts. For example, the Great Chariot, commentary on finding rest in the nature of mind, also quotes this story. So if we give rise to faith in a bodhisattva, the benefit goes without saying. Even if we feel some anger or attachment toward them, there is still benefit in that as well. And if we generate faith, the benefit is even greater. In the sutra on entering the definite and indefinite seals, the Buddha also told his disciples, for example, if all sentient beings in the 10 directions had their eyes gouged out and then someone restored their sight, the merit of restoring their eyes would be immense. Or if all sentient beings imprisoned in darkness were released, if all beings in dark prisons were freed, the merit would also be immense. If you could help all beings attain the status of a Chakravartin or Brahma, the merit and good fortune would be enormous. But if someone generates a pure mind toward an aspired bodhisattva on the path, the merit far surpasses all of the above. This is what is said in the sutra just mentioned. So we should understand that a bodhisattva is an incredibly powerful object of focus. But with such an object, no matter what kind of mind you generate, whether it's anger, jealousy, or any other thought, because of the power of a bodhisattva's aspiration is so strong, not only will you not experience severe negative consequences, but ultimately you will gain unsurpassable benefit. Since all of us here have already generated bodhicitta, we should always keep this in mind. Now that I have taken the bodhisattva vow, from this moment on, no matter whether others feel anger toward me, or have an impure mind toward me, or even a pure mind, may they all receive benefit from it. The great master Changchup Dorji once prophesied that whoever connects with His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche will be reborn in the Western Pure Land. We should also have this kind of aspiration in our hearts. Whoever connects with me, even if it is with anger or with any kind of disrespect, although temporarily that sentient being may experience some suffering, ultimately because of this connection, may they attain true liberation. Making such aspirations is extremely important for everyone who studies Mahayana Buddhism. Next, we discuss the meaningfulness of the vow in terms of action. After we have generated bodhicitta, no matter what actions others take toward us, they should all receive benefit. We should make vow in this way. The verse says, "May anyone who slanders me, any others who cause harm, and all who criticize me have the fortune to awaken." The meaning here is very clear. In future, there may be sentient beings who take me as their object and slander me with harsh words, or defame me to my face, or harm me through other means, directly or indirectly. For example, they may hit me with a stick or throw stones at me, or through any other action meant to harm me. Or some sentient beings may mock, insult, or ridicule me, whether to my face or behind my back. No matter what they do, I should make this vow. Not only will I never seek revenge or hold hatred toward these beings, but I will also to make the vow in my heart that these sentient beings throughout all lifetimes may have the most excellent causes and conditions for enlightenment. The Buddha also taught this in the sutras. I remember in Tokme Zangpo's commentary, the ocean of good explanations at the end of this commentary. There is a verse of dedication with a similar meaning. Whether others feel attachment or anger toward me, ridicule me, or cause me benefit or harm, whoever sees, hears, or comes into contact with me, may they all swiftly attain supreme enlightenment. As the verse says, whether others harm or hurt us, or give rise to anger, attachment, and so on, we vow that whoever sees, hears, or contacts us may quickly attain the fruition of supreme enlightenment. This kind of aspiration is extremely beneficial, and we should often make such vows. This is the vow Tokme Zangpo made at the end of the ocean of good explanations. Patrul Rinpoche also made such vows in his prayers. Whether others hear my teachings of virtuous Dharma, or see me, or hear my voice, or remember, come into contact with me, or speak with me, may all these sentient beings purify the downfalls of the 5 crimes with immediate retribution, and have the door to the lower realms blocked, and ultimately be reborn in the pure land of Potalaka. Potalaka is the pure land of Avalokiteshvara. So, you see, Patrul Rinpoche's words express the meaning we are discussing here. So, in our daily lives, we should also think this way. It doesn't matter what others think of us, whether it's good or bad, because as bodhisattvas, we should have no self-centeredness. If there is no self-clinging, no attachment to the self, then however sentient beings treat us, whatever way they see us, it doesn't matter. As long as we connect with sentient beings and bring them true benefit. For all of us here, we should also think about this sometimes. In what form does a bodhisattva often appear? This is hard to say. For example, when we walk into a shop, the people there selling things, or the many people coming and going around us, we have no reason to say that none of them are bodhisattvas, because we can see them, contact them, or hear their voices. It is very possible that these are emanations of bodhisattvas, and we should also think this way. From now on, throughout all lifetimes, may I become such a bodhisattva that is of some benefit to others. Even if some people scold me to my face, or behind my back, or whatever they do, may they all receive true benefit. In the 10 vows of Manjushri, there are such aspirations as well. I'm sure you are all aware of this. So we also often vow that we may become the excellent cause and condition for sentient beings to attain enlightenment. You can also find similar accounts in the stories and biographies of the Buddha, because when bodhisattvas were at the causal stage, they made such vast aspirations. When these aspirations ripen, sentient beings are able to benefit upon seeing them. Sometimes when we see pitiful sentient beings and feel compassion for them, in fact, that sentient being may very well be an emanation of a bodhisattva. It is not always necessary to feel compassion for them. Just like when Tokme Zangpo saw the dog who was actually an emanation of Maitreya, at first glance, it looked very pitiful, but in fact it was truly Maitreya. So sometimes, when we see especially pitiful sentient beings, it is very possible that they are emanations of bodhisattvas. Sometimes, we might see some sentient beings with a bad temper or improper behavior, but we cannot rule out that they are emanations of bodhisattvas. Therefore, on the one hand, we should view the outer world with pure perception. People with unusual actions may be manifestations of bodhisattvas. On the other hand, we ourselves should always think this way. May all sentient beings who are connected to me receive both temporary and ultimate benefit. This is the ultimate goal of our aspiration. It's not just words of mouth. We should actually think this way in all daily activities. Whether during the day or at night, walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, always think that May all sentient beings connected to me receive benefit. This is our aspiration. It is also the unique and supreme cause for bodhicitta to arise in our own mind stream. If in our own mind stream we do not have such aspirations or dedications, then it will be difficult for genuine bodhicitta to arise. As we discussed earlier, on the one hand, we must try to purify karmic obscurations and accumulate merit and wisdom through the 7-branch practice. On the other hand, we must train our own minds. By training this mind, it means we must abandon self-clinging. If we are especially attached to our own body and loved ones, then can we truly become a suitable vessel for bodhicitta? This will be quite difficult. Next, we will discuss vowing to become a cause for benefiting others. We continue to make the aspiration to become the very foundation of benefit for sentient beings. The verse says, "May I be a guardian of the defenseless, a leader of travelers, a boat or ship, or even a bridge for those who wish to cross. This is the result of the Buddha's past extraordinary aspirations, which have ripened as all kinds of things that benefit sentient beings." So first, we should aspire, may I, throughout all lifetimes, become the protector of those who are without support, the leader who have wandered into unfamiliar places, and the road for those who wish to cross. May I become their guide, their leader. In this world, there are also many pitiful beings who are helpless and alone, and pitiful sentient beings who are isolated and destitute. In front of such pitiful beings, may I become their true protector and guide, possessing the necessary power, wisdom, and resources to help them. So, in daily life, we should also think in this way. Anyone in the world who has some ability or wisdom, for example, when we go to the sacred mountains or visit monasteries, we may encounter guides and tour leaders. These, in fact, can be emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. There was a lay practitioner at Mount Wutai whom I knew well. He asked me, I am now training to be a tour guide. Every day I have the opportunity to talk to people about the qualities of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but I could make more money elsewhere. Which should I choose? I advised him, maybe a tour guide is more meaningful. You'll have more opportunities to go to different monasteries, and when you introduce the qualities of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, you are actually a true Dharma teacher. But sometimes we can also notice that these days some tour guides are very good at speaking, even if they don't actually have much knowledge. They talk about the Dharma without truly understanding it, or they speak about history without really knowing it. That's not a good thing. But those who genuinely introduce the Dharma, or those who sincerely share Buddhist history, can be seen as emanations of bodhisattvas. We should also think like this. Whenever there are lost beings in this world, may we become their guide. For those helpless and destitute beings out there, it is truly important to offer them help. People today often think that temporary help is something remarkable. If you give someone some practical support for a short time, people tend to see that as amazing. Not long ago in Guangdong, there was a well-known model citizen. He received many honors and awards because every week he would go to a welfare home to care for the elderly. This is indeed a very kind act. Everyone thought his spirit was truly admirable and voted for him as a model citizen. But those who have truly generated great bodhicitta do not just help someone once or twice a week. They help all sentient beings day and night whenever they have time. That's the conduct of a bodhisattva. If there were awards, those who have generated bodhicitta should receive higher honor because they have no conditions, no personal motives, no self-interest at all. But some of the award winners these days may more or less have their own agendas, especially when they haven't really overcome their self-clinging or selfishness. Those who truly generate bodhicitta should be honored in this world, for they benefit sentient beings endlessly and without any condition. This is the true conduct of Mahayana practitioners. So, when we encounter those who have lost their way, we should become their guides. And for those who need to cross rivers, may we become their boat, their raft, their ship, or their bridge. In this world, when there are pitiful beings who wish to cross rivers, lakes, or even vast oceans, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas would manifest as boats and rafts, great ships to help them. In daily life, when we see large ships or vessels out on the ocean, we should regard them as emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. People living in coastal cities often see this. When I was in Dalian, I saw many fishing boats. I wondered, could these be emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas or not? I think they should be. It is said that the Buddha can manifest in any form. For example, in Omniscient Longchenpa's Great Chariot, a commentary on finding rest in the nature of mind, it also has many examples of how the Buddha manifests as a boat, a raft, a bridge, and so on, in order to benefit sentient beings. Many Mahayana sutras also teach this. But the boats in the sea are fishing every day. Then are they really emanations of the Buddha or Bodhisattvas? I think it might be more accurate to say that those boats and ships that do not harm but benefit sentient beings are emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Sometimes when I am by the sea, I would reflect on these things alone. Of course, you may not view boats in this way, as everyone has their own way of thinking. I remember a story about boats. There was a philosopher who once took a boat ride. He asked the boatman, "Do you know philosophy?" The boatman said, "No, I don't." "If you don't know philosophy," he said, "you've lost half your life. It's meaningless." Later, when they were in the middle of the ocean, he asked, "Do you know mathematics?" The boatman said, "No." Of course, the boatman didn't know. Then the philosopher said, "Well, you've lost 80% of your life." After a while, a storm came and the boat was wrecked at sea. At that moment, the boatman asked the philosopher, "Do you know how to swim?" The philosopher replied, "I don't know how to swim." The boatman said, "Then you've lost your whole life." So the boatman meant, I only lost 50 or 80% of my life, but now even if you know philosophy, it doesn't help. You've lost your whole life. So everyone's interests and what they value are different. For example, those who study science think it's the most important thing in the world. When we study Buddhist logic, we say Buddhist logic is the eye of the world, the most important thing. And tomorrow, if we study the Abhidharma Kosha, we might say how important the Abhidharma Kosha is. So every time we engage in a certain field of study, we may easily recognize its importance and talk about its meaning and benefits. All in all, sometimes it is indeed true that all the boats and rafts in the world are genuine emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And we should also think this way ourselves. You see, on the ocean there are many travelers coming and going, and they cross the ocean smoothly by boat. So we should aspire, may I become such boats and rafts in the future to help travelers. When we see many airplanes, we should aspire, may I become airplanes to benefit sentient beings. When we see buses, taxis, or cars, we should also aspire, may I become these vehicles to benefit sentient beings. When we see rivers or lakes or boats on the ocean, we should also make such aspirations accordingly. From the perspective of aspiration, may we become these things to benefit sentient beings. From the perspective of the emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they help sentient beings through such inanimate forms. In places with no Buddhist teachings, people might think there are no Buddhas or Buddhism in our remote area. Of course, this is true from the perspective of the Buddha's dharma of transmission, but from another perspective, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are everywhere. As long as something benefits sentient beings, it is an emanation of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Nowadays, communication is very advanced. Almost everyone has a mobile phone, a pager, or some device in their hand. Everyone is carrying something. In a way, we can say these are also emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. You could say the Buddha is right there in your bag, or you're holding the Buddha every day. Some people feel that without their phone, they've lost half the value of their lives. If they travel far and forget to take their phone, they immediately go back for it. But in ancient times, people didn't have these things at all. Sometimes it seems that with these conveniences, life and communication become much easier. But sometimes having these things also brings a lot of pressure. But in any case, from the perspective of benefit, as long as it is convenient and beneficial for sentient beings, as long as it helps sentient beings, it is an emanation of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So when it comes to boats, they certainly have some benefit to sentient beings. Even in the scriptures of other religions, such as the Bible, you can find similar accounts. For example, the story of Noah's Ark. What kind of story is it? In ancient times, people committed many wrongdoings. The world became filled with violence and corruption. God saw this and was grieved. He decided to send a great flood to cleanse the earth. This great flood would destroy all living things on earth. But God told a righteous man named Noah that a flood was coming soon and instructed him to build an ark to save himself, his family, and pairs of every kind of animal. The ark was to have 3 decks. Noah followed God's instructions and built the ark. When the rain began to fall and the flood waters rose, Noah, his family, and pairs of animals entered the ark. They were kept safe inside. The flood waters kept rising, covering even the highest mountains. The tops of the mountains could not be seen. After some time, Noah looked out to see what had become of the world. He first sent out a raven to see if the waters had receded, but the raven did not return. Then he sent out a dove to look. The dove returned with a freshly picked olive leaf, which showed that the waters had begun to recede, and there was dry land. Eventually, the floodwaters went down completely. Noah, his family, and the animals left the ark, and humanity began to flourish again. So, at the beginning of this new chapter for humanity, the ark played a crucial role in saving life. For all of humanity, this ark served to save the world. Later, many archaeologists and historians have discussed the possible location of Noah's Ark. Some believe it may have been found near the border of the former Soviet Union, though whether it was truly discovered remains debated. I heard that in the 1990s, some people claim to have seen part of it. Many people have shown great reverence for it. From a religious perspective, the ark is seen as a means specially arranged by God to save living beings. So we can also look at it from this perspective. According to other teachings, this interpretation is also quite reasonable. So really, there's nothing wrong with saying that boats and bridges are emanations of noble ones to benefit beings. Just think about it. There are so many bridges in the world, big ones, small ones. For example, there's the Millennium Bridge in England, the Golden Gate Bridge in the United States, the Yuanshan Bridge in Taiwan, the Pudong Bridge in Shanghai, and closer to home near Larungar, we have the Larung Bridge, right? There are so many bridges like these in different parts of the world. All of these could be seen as emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Sometimes when we stand on a bridge and see countless cars and people flowing smoothly across, we can say this bridge is the emanation of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. That's why, since ancient times, people have believed that building or repairing bridges and roads is a way to remove obstacles and bring about good conditions for everyone. It's truly a wonderful and skillful way to remove obstacles. So we should also make aspirations in our hearts. May I become a bridge or a boat to help sentient beings cross to the other shore. Just think, without a bridge, so many people would be stranded, unable to cross the river. But with a bridge, countless beings can pass safely and easily to the other side. So the emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are truly inconceivable. We should make such aspirations ourselves. With this kind of mindset, we will definitely help sentient beings. If I were to become a bridge, would a bridge care about fame or gain? Of course not. Even if there were such things, a bridge couldn't enjoy them. A bridge would have no way to experience the 8 worldly concerns, as it is just an inanimate object. As bodhisattvas, we should be the same. We should never do anything for praise or recognition. Unlike some people who may do good deeds for their own benefit, they always have their own motives. Our actions should be completely unconditional, pure, and selfless. This is the only mindset a true bodhisattva should have. Now, the final verse is as follows. The land for those who seek the land, a lamp for those who seek a lamp, a bed for those without. For all those beings who want a servant, may I become their slave. There are actual stories behind these verses. In ancient times, merchants would spend months or even many years traveling at sea, and after such a long journey, they would be utterly exhausted. At those times, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas would manifest as islands in the ocean for them to rest. Stories like this can be found in the accounts of Buddha Shakyamuni's previous lives, where he would appear as an island to help merchants in need. Of course, nowadays, travel is much more convenient. According to the biography of Lord Atisha, it is said that it took several months by boat to travel from India to Suvarnadvipa before finally reaching the island where his guru lived. The verse means, all the islands in the ocean should be seen as emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. When we make aspirations, we should also wish to become an island in the future, so that countless travelers and weary people can rely on us to rest and receive benefit. I remember back in 1993 when His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche traveled to America to teach the Dharma. He flew from Tokyo, Japan on a 9-hour flight. He arrived in the afternoon at what people often call the Aloha State, the Hawaiian Islands, a true gem of America. At that time, Hawaii was already a world-famous destination, attracting tourists from all over. People from every corner of the globe came to visit and enjoy its beauty. The scenery was truly breathtaking. After getting off the plane, His Holiness remarked, "Doesn't the Bodhicharyavatara say that bodhisattvas become islands to benefit sentient beings?" So perhaps this island too is an emanation of a bodhisattva, just as described in the Bodhicharyavatara. It was a long journey to get there. Although we didn't travel by boat, flying for so long was also exhausting. At that time, His Holiness's health wasn't the best, but still he kept reciting and sharing verses from the Bodhicharyavatara with us. He would recite and teach at the same time, showing us that a true practitioner can apply the Dharma wherever they are, in any situation. Even if they don't have the texts with them, they can still put the teachings into practice. Perhaps this is the true power of genuine practice. Yesterday, I noticed that some people had memorized the 400 verses and the Beacon of Certainty very well. I thought to myself, that's wonderful. If you can memorize like this, the teachings will be imprinted in your mind. In this case, then even after decades or many years down the road, you will still be able to recall these teachings from your heart. So even if you don't have a book with you, it will still benefit your practice. At that time, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche also reminded us to always keep in mind those suffering sentient beings we see around us, those who are living in darkness without any light. For these people, we should aspire to become a lamp, to show them the way and bring them some light. Nowadays, especially in big cities, we see that everywhere, inside and out, there are beautiful, dazzling lights. All of these can be seen as emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Every time you arrive in a new city, you see the city lights, so beautiful and so bright. In that moment, on one hand, you can reflect. These are manifestations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to help beings. All the lights we see around us can be seen as emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. On the other hand, we should also aspire. May I in every lifetime become such a lamp, dispelling the darkness of sentient beings so they may receive the light of the true Dharma and wisdom. We should make aspirations like this. In this world, there are also many people who are physically exhausted or just want to sleep, or sometimes after a long class, when it's already 11:30 at night, you just want to find your bed to rest. We all have a special connection with our beds. Some scholars have even said that 1/3 of our lives is spent sleeping in bed. Sometimes I feel that as people get older, they spend even more time in bed. Some elderly people, due to poor health, hardly ever leave their bed. So your bed should actually be seen as an emanation of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. If the Buddha or Bodhisattvas know that if you have no bed and must sleep on the ground, it's damp and uncomfortable. Some people without a bed might just pile up some boards to sleep on. Actually, if you look at some true practitioners in ancient times, they never had things like spring beds or wooden beds or jade beds or coral beds, none of that. But nowadays, practitioners' requirements are much higher. They want to have big beds, high beds. So in this respect, the requirements are a bit higher. But in any case, all of these should be seen as emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. In our own hearts, we should make such aspiration. May I become beds for others. May I become various useful things. In addition to these, there are many things that are not mentioned in the verse. For example, may I become a microphone or a teacup. May I become a pen. There are so many such resources and objects. All of these are also emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. When we use them, we should recognize them as the light or skillful means of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And in our own hearts, we should always make such aspirations. As long as it benefits sentient beings, as long as it is helpful, I am willing to become inanimate or animate things. Similar teachings can also be found in the Sutra of the Meeting of Father and Son. And in the Compendium of Training, there are many citations from sutras. These teachings have already made this clear. Therefore, we should also make aspiration in this way. And further, for anyone who needs a servant, may I become their servant. For example, some people can't find an attendant, some teachers can't find a disciple, or some wealthy ones can't find a housekeeper, or someone to help with chores. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas make aspirations. As long as it helps others, they are willing to become that. So, some lamas are not necessarily always emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Their attendants may be emanations of Bodhisattvas who purposely come to serve them. And often we may not realize that the disciple is actually an emanation of a Buddha or Bodhisattva. We might show respect only to the Lama, but not to the attendant. Yet the Lama may not necessarily be an authentic emanation. Perhaps he simply needed an attendant and looked everywhere, and by chance found a Bodhisattva to help him. This is also possible. So, for all of us, it is good to remember to treat attendants with respect as well. We should try to show respect to all attendants of lamas. And it's not only entrepreneurs or bosses who deserve respect. Those who do the work, servants, those who sweep or carry water, also deserve our respect. After all, for Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, as long as it benefits sentient beings, they are willing to serve in any way. These days, many civil servants refer to themselves as servants of the people. Of course, sometimes this is more of an ideal, and in practice it may not always be the case. In the office, some may see themselves as quite important. When their subordinates come in, they may feel more like a boss than a servant. There can be a sense of authority or status. But in any case, it's helpful for us to keep this in mind. As long as something can help and benefit sentient beings, we should be willing to take on any role. This is the spirit of a bodhisattva. Of course, having this kind of motivation requires a very high level of realization. For most of us, it's not so easy to put this into practice right away. In fact, sometimes even making such an aspiration can feel challenging. May I, throughout all lifetimes, become the servant of others. Some people might think being a servant is really hard. There's no money, no status, and you have to do chores every day. How could you live on just a small salary each month? I don't want to be a servant. I'd rather be a king, or maybe even aspire to be a president. Some people may feel this way, but in fact, the true aspiration of a bodhisattva is simply to benefit sentient beings. There are no other motives or requirements. As long as it benefits sentient beings, any role is fine. It could be animate or inanimate, white or black, whatever form it takes. If it doesn't benefit sentient beings, then even being a Chakravartin, Indra, a king, or a respected Lama may not be meaningful. But if it does benefit sentient beings, even if it means becoming a beggar that others may look down on, you would still be willing. Even if a beggar holds a bowl, asking for help from every passerby, that beggar could actually be a great bodhisattva in disguise. When people see him or even feel uncomfortable around him, they may still be creating a positive connection or accumulating merit. This is entirely possible. Some beggars may not look very pleasant, and many people might not want to get close. I'll give you some change, just please stay away, you look so dirty. But in reality, that beggar could truly be an emanation of a Buddha or Bodhisattva. That's always possible. So it's important for us to always keep this aspiration in mind. From today's teaching, I hope we can realize that we might need to change our mindset, not always focusing on lofty or personal goals. For example, I want to achieve some extraordinary accomplishment. I want to be reborn in the Western Pure Land because I've heard there's plenty of food and clothing there, so maybe life will be free of worries. Some people even joke, Amitabha's insurance company must be pretty good. At that time, all my problems will be solved. But it's better not to think this way. Instead, we should pray to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. As long as I can benefit sentient beings, I am willing to become anything. For every Mahayana practitioner, this is the kind of aspiration we should make. All right, we'll stop here for today.
Jirgana jirano chukai Chupun tsunen chua chua sha
Bandaran gara badma asadarda Bandaran gara badma asadarda Bandaran gara badma asadarda